Don't you hate wrestling with predictability? The garbage man, the sexy boy, boring ass TV? How did I get to work in here? Somebody tell me, please. The WWF is confusing to me. With Vince as mean as you've ever seen. I told old Patterson I'm done here in June. When a sudden voice inside me whispered, Vinny, don't sell your dream so soon. And everywhere I look, there's a Ted with a hand to hold on to. And everywhere I look, there's a place and a promotion who needs you. And it's there you'll book when you're lost out there and you're all alone. And WCW's waiting to carry you home. It's there you'll book. And it's there I'll book. A doobity-ba-ba-ba, headed to Atlanta and listen to this podcast. It's all right, even though it fucking makes fun of everything I've ever done. Backbone Wrestling Network. Welcome back to episode 22 of Are You Smarter Than Vince Russo's WCW? I'm Scott Shiflett. Joining me as always, fresh off of vacation, looking wonderful and well rested as ever. Hardest working man in podcast, Logan Crossland. Logan, how are you doing tonight?
I would say I'm probably the furthest thing from well rested, but I'm glad I look at least. That makes me feel better. But happy to be back. Happy that this is only a Thunder we're talking about and not a Nitro. Was not looking forward to coming back into a Nitro, so I was glad to realize that it was a Thunder. And as we kind of talked about pre-pod, I think we have a better batting average on these Thunders than we have of the Nitro so far. So hopefully that continues tonight.
Yeah, Logan, I missed you. We were gone 2 weeks. I feel like I haven't recorded this podcast in forever with you guys, with you and the listeners here. I agree with the Thunders having a better batting average. I think it's because it's 2 hours and Russo runs out of time, as we've seen tonight, where somehow he feels like he fits 4 matches into 25 minutes. And that includes backstage segments, which we'll talk about. But all in all, I think this is a really good Thunder. And it's just downright depressing, Logan. Because I'm excited to see where it goes, but by the end of the night, the plans are literally undone as I see the blood in black and white all over the PTB limo.
Oh yeah. It all comes crashing down in seemingly one night. It's kind of insane. So a lot's going to change between now and sold out. So we'll see when we get there, but it's going to look very, 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 very different.
And so much stuff happened tonight that this tells you how I was so removed from WCW at the time that I was I thought they went back to creative control, but we'll get to that. We got a couple debuts tonight. Worthless backstage promo of the artist formerly known as Prince Ikea, but we'll jump into it. But let's kick it off. We're in Thunder. We're in Salisbury, Maryland tonight. We were in Baltimore for Nitro and DC for Starrcade. It's December 23rd, 1999. Somehow we have still not hit Christmas, Logan. It feels like we've been in the month of December for forever, just because of all these shows. But we see highlights on Monday and how like Kevin Nash and like whatever was happening through the whole show. But they did edit the package, Logan, to make it look like Brett pinned Goldberg when it was actually Piper, because Piper jumped on too soon.
Yeah, that's right.
So I did laugh at that. But it was nice to catch everyone up. They literally like show just about everything. We usually get these Thunder highlights at the middle of the show for some reason, but it was at the start because big angle. And then right after that, Tanay is talking about tonight as he's the lead announcer for Thunder. And the NWO's music hits, and out comes the NWO of Bret Hart, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, and Jeff Jarrett. Bret gets on the mic immediately and says, "Don't you like all this gold?" Hall says it's too sweet. And also I noticed that someone has a sign that says Chris O'Kelly steals cable in the front row, which made me laugh. I don't know who Chris O'Kelly is, but a person narked on you. Bret says they have been planning this for over a month, and this has been a masterpiece. Bret says the wrestling fans are stupid idiots. He said the fans have been sucked in for over a month, and shows the highlight reel of the plans. And it even goes back to October, Logan, because that's one thing since I knew like where we were going with this. How like we talked about how the outsiders didn't really touch Bret, but they touched him sometimes. But we see in all these highlights, they go over it and like they say how great actors they are, and how they're like, "Oh, look at that shot you got me in," which I thought was very good. Talking about how like, because most of the time when this happens, like when a turn happens and they join up, it's like, well, they've been beating your ass for 2 months, man. Like that's sort of what happened with Dirty Dom. Like Rhea made him his bitch, and then at the end of the match, that's when he turned on Edge instead of like in the beginning part. I mean, it worked out for the Judgment Day and Dirty Dom as well, but that's just like something I hate. So I love this. And Bret says he learned this acting from Lonesome Dove when he was on there. And when it shows Bret holding the U.S. flag and Nash goes, "You're from Canada," that I liked. And Bret says he's a better at acting than HBK when they showed the Starrcade Montreal screw job. Bret says this is too sweet. Hall's laughing at that. And then like Bret says he's pissed off, but it's bleeped out. Bret says, "Bill Goldberg, we did this right in front of your face, and you can do whatever you would about it." Hall says that's not too much that he can do. Nash gets on the mic and says it's been hot and cold with the fans. Says the reason you people cheer for the outsiders because you wanted to be hip. How can you be hip when you're gullible and stupid? And I did notice, Logan, that they're not trying to be the cool heels here, which I thought was very important because I'm doing my own chrono rewatch. And it's so like the NWO at that time really wants to be the cool heels, especially the outsiders and 6. But they're trying to be like straight up dickhead heels, which I really liked. Plus, I don't think you can be cool heel with Jeff Jarrett. I love you, Jeff, but that just doesn't work. The NWO says you guys fell for it. Nash says we don't need you. We never need you. Talking about the fans. Hall says we will take your money low. And then whatever Hall said is completely edited out. They're literally showing pictures of like fan signs of NWO in the crowd. And this is like for 30 seconds. And they keep showing and like whatever is completely said is edited. And then it just jump cuts to Jeff. And Jeff says this is the first ever Slapnuts convention. He says he's the chosen one and no one saw this coming. Jeff said next time we will have to use subtitles. But he says but getting y'all to read will be an exercise in frustration, like with Matt Souza. And Jeff says this NWO will be different. There'll be no bastardizing and only the elite, because he says once you've had black, you never go back. Goldberg's music hits. He comes out with the mic and he says, "Listen right now and listen good." Said he's been thinking of what happened Monday and one truth. Compassion is dead, and so are you. And he said, "One by one, I'm going to rip your hearts out and shove them down your damn throats. The term won't be who's next, but who's left." So, Logan, a really hot segment. I really like them saying, we'll have to see if it's true, of the NWO not being bastardized. Because that was one of the bad things about it. And it seems like our main event angle right now is NWO versus Goldberg, which has me really excited with everything going on. And I thought that was a very good like opening segment. Like I said, with like the outsiders, like not trying to be the cool heels, just like shitting on the fans. You got Bret saying this has been planned since first, like after Halloween Havoc, all this stuff. It's just great. I loved it. What did you think?
Yeah, I enjoyed it for the most part. I did feel like at certain points them like watching all the stuff that had happened kind of got tedious a little bit. Not too annoying, but them just kind of resting on the ropes watching all the stuff that had happened. I did like that they were kind of commentating over it though. That was pretty funny, especially Hall being the sarcastic asshole that he is. But yeah, definitely good way to get him out there. Like you said, it's good that they're like trying to be like shitbag heels. They're not trying to be like cool and get people to cheer them. They're trying to, they're really bagging on the fans and talking about how idiots they are and shitheads and stuff like that. So, yeah, definitely a good way to go. And it would be real interesting to see what this group could do because and they're kind of star studded. It's four guys that are super talented and we've mostly enjoyed on the pod so far. So it would have been interesting to see where maybe it could go, but obviously we'll get into it. But doesn't play out for too long, I guess.
And they had all the gold, which I thought was also
Yeah, that's
very
true.
cool because, like, I don't really know who you would do with the tag titles, but you have like the Brett and Goldberg feud, obviously. Benoit versus Jeff Jarrett for the U.S. title, which you've already set up. You set that up the Nitro before Starrcade, so it's like, damn, like that would have been hot with like your two big baby faces are Benoit, even though he's piece of shit, and Goldberg, and
Yeah,
it's all
also
gone in a month, Logan. Like, yeah, literally a month. All this is gone. Three of the people are gone.
yep.
I think Hall's technically hurt, so that's why we don't really have the tag title stuff. But like, you know, it, it would be really cool, and they show it a little tonight, and it goes back to Monday. If they had the Wall and Sid Vicious team up as like a
Yeah,
what was
super
their
team.
tag team name?
The
What was the tag
skyscrapers.
team name? Sid, the Skyscrapers, as like a Skyscrapers 2000 or something. Because it seems like they were
Yeah, that
trying
would
to
be
do
cool.
something with Wall because they didn't bury him on Monday or tonight, as we'll see. So it's like it's like I know I give Russo a lot of shit, and he just deserves for most of it, well, for all of it. But with this is just like this is just shit luck, Logan. Like
Yeah.
with Brett's concussion, Goldberg, and then like standards and like not standards and practices, but the big wigs already regretting their decision, having buyer's remorse when he said
Mm-hmm.
6 months, and we're not even 2 months in right now, and he's gone before it sold out. So it's just like, and by the time he comes back, the roster ain't what it is. Honestly, like
Mm-hmm.
you lose 5 big wrestlers, 6 with Goldberg, who's a big star, and it's just like Jesus Christ. But we'll get to this, guys.
I
And then
mean,
we go to the
you
announce
lose
desk, which
four guys just after sold out. I mean, they're not main eventer. Well, I
yeah,
mean, Benoit eventually is, I guess, but
he's upper mid
you lose,
card here, like as we
yeah,
see.
and you lose some, mid carders and Saturn and Malenko and Guerrero too. So, yeah, it's bad times for sure, and real bad luck and
Yeah,
just bad timing and all that stuff.
yeah, and babyface, who you were gonna strap the rocket ship to by having him dethrone the NWO, slices his arm and cuts it, like I'm pretty sure to the bone. I know he cuts a tendon. So,
Yeah.
but yeah. All right, well, we'll go through. We'll talk about this. Sorry, we're depressed, guys. This is just sad because like me and Logan, 22 episodes. We've seen a lot of shit in like 18 episodes, and this one, like you could feel like I'm not sure if ratings would have rebounded. I can't speak for that, but it feels like they were turning the corner because they had like a cohesive story with the main
Mm-hmm.
event now.
Yep.
But we go to the announce desk, which me and Logan hate after they do these promos, and we see Mike Tenay, Scott Hudson, and Tony Schiavone is there. Tenay's lead host. They say that Tony has replaced Hoovy, sadly, Logan. So that was just a 2-week excursion of him burying everyone, which is
No more
heartbroken.
juice.
Yeah, it's no longer juicy. So Tenay goes over the matches tonight, which would have made me want to turn the channel when he says it's the PG-13 versus the Varsity Club. The Filthy Animals and Duggan versus Revolution. Norman Smiley defended the title. DDP versus The Wall. We have David Flair footage And then the main event tonight is Bret Hart versus Chris Benoit for the WCW title, as they do bring up that Chris Benoit won a triple threat match after Mayhem for the number one contendership after Starrcade, which I thought was nice because I had completely forgotten about it. But he beat Jeff Jarrett and Sting in that match, even though I think it went like 3.5 minutes, but it's Russo. Then we cut backstage to see Liam Meow stretching, and it's basically just showing off her tits. We get a commercial break. We see people on motorcycles showing up. They have their helmets on, so we can't see who they are, and they walk off. We see Chris Benoit and Mean Gene. They talk about how Mean Gene says Chris Benoit earned the number one contendership at Mayhem. I have in parentheses, that's wrong, because he was in the main event at Mayhem for the title.
Yeah,
he won it after. Yeah, it's like, Jesus Christ, Mean Gene. He says, Chris says what the NWO and Bret Hart did is personal. Chris said he's being true to yourself as the decisions you make, which this whole promo ages horribly. Chris said Bret was his role model, but he compromised himself with his choices. Chris said he loved Bret like a brother, and that ended on Monday. Chris said tonight he will rip his heart out. And that leads to match 1, which is PG-13 versus the Varsity Club. PG-13 debuted trying to attack the Varsity Club on Monday and then tripped over themselves running away, Logan, so not the best debut. I straight up said PG-13 looks like they deal drugs to high schoolers. They get on the mic and say they are JC Ice and Wolfie D. JC Ice says this is where the big boys play. He says we aren't big and we ain't boys, but we are cool like the water in the swimming pool. Out comes the Varsity Club. Leia Meow leads them to the ring. Looks like Mike Rotunda and Rick Steiner are going to be wrestling. They make Leia Meow do jumping jacks and push-ups so we can, see her tits moving. Kevin gets on commentary. Ice and Rotunda start off, but Wolfie D hits Rotunda, and they both try to confuse him, like running out of the ring and hitting him and run. Rotunda then clotheslines JC Ice and then tags to Steiner, who beats the shit out of Ice. He treats him like a jobber in the late 80s, early 90s with how he beats him. Like, just vicious punches, sick release German suplex, and like a clothesline. And like, they just beat the fuck out of, like, he beats the fuck out of both of PG-13, Logan. He runs Wolfie D in the turnbuckle, and then Rotunda beats down the other member of PG-13. The Varsity Club is DQ because they're just beating the shit out of him in the ring, but they got him tied up in both in the turnbuckles. Kevin Sullivan hits a tree of woe. Then they bring in Leia Meow, who drops an elbow on the nuts of the other one. And then after the match, Varsity Club beats him down again, and Leia Meow just does more push-ups. So, Logan, this was just Squash City. Like, holy shit, I was shocked that this was just a squash. Like, it looked like Steiner was throwing live rounds in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this was an absolute beat down to the point of, like, they just start beating their ass and the ref, like, DQs them. So they're just mauling them, and they don't care whether the ref is telling them to stop or not. They just beat their ass continuously over and over. Did you get the feeling that, like, Leia Meow was, like, being made to, like, do the push-ups and attack and do the stuff? Felt like they were like that, like, she doesn't want to be there, but they're, like, making her be there for some reason. Did you get that feeling, or am I?
I didn't get the feeling.
Yeah.
I mean, she probably didn't want to be there in real life, but she was like, okay. True. But no, I guess they said, like, when they were doing, like, their push-ups and stuff, that's what they made them do in the 80s. I don't really remember the Varsity Club doing that, but also I haven't seen a lot of Varsity Club matches. Sorry, Sean. But yeah.
Yeah.
I will say her giving the elbow drop to the nuts was, like, horrible. It was like in slow motion. Like, she didn't want to do it. She didn't want to do that, Logan. I can tell you that. She didn't want to do that.
Yeah, her offense was suspect at best, I'd say.
So I swear this is how I type these notes, guys. I said we see the bikers walking with their helmets backstage. I have in parentheses, this is going to be the loser Harris twins, isn't it? Get a commercial break. And then we see a video, and it's David Flair yelling at a fast food employee. He said he wanted Salisbury steak since he's in Salisbury, but he didn't get it. And Daphne's just laughing the whole time as they bother this poor fast food worker. And then we see Powers That Be with Kurt. Powers That Be is not happy with how the desk looks, and he said someone has to be used and be the patsy. And they talked about how Shane was an idiot, Laparca was a patsy, and the creative control were morons as well, but they had to be used for, like, this grand plan of the NWO. And then the bikers then jump jump in and beat down Kurt Hennig, and they take off their helmets, and it's the fucking Harris twins, guys. I was like, God damn it! How did I? I thought it was Chronic at first when we first saw him, Logan.
Chronic.
When they pulled in on the motorcycles, when we saw him walking again, I was like, man, like I said, it's the fucking Harris twins. And how the Harris twins threatens the powers of B and says it's going to be painful. Says they are clocking out. I just have fuck on it just because, like, damn it, I don't want to see them. So then we go to the ring. The filthy animals come out. Everyone but Tori is there. Ray is on crutches, hobbling. Duggan then comes out as well. Duggan still hasn't denounced the U.S. He gets a U.S. chant going. Eddie gets on a mic and says, "You talk about coming back. Look at this motley crew here." He says the filthy animals are a lot of things, but one thing we are is Americans, which actually gets some boos. I guess they didn't think they were Americans when all of them are, Logan. Way to be racist, Maryland. Eddie says, Revolution, that brings me to you. You managed to put down the filthy animals, but you made one small mistake. You didn't kill us off. You left us on the side of the road waiting for the vultures. When they landed, we knocked them on their ass like we were going to knock them on yours. Billy gets on the mic and says, me and Eddie had our problems. I'm glad they brought that up, Logan, because last time we saw them, they were beating each other up. And sometimes he thinks with the wrong dick. The word dick was bleeped here. Says, I don't know why he said dick, or he said head, but it was bleep, but it wouldn't make sense for head to be bleeped. But it's there's a lot of bleeping tonight, guys. And he says, the revolution, we have put our differences aside. We're going to get you up in you and beat you like some bitches, which is also bleeped. Conan says, Riba la raza. And says, there won't be no prisoners, just victims. And says, we all got the something, which is also bleeped. I don't know what he says. Ray gets on the mic and says, you want to take my knee out? And then says the filthy animals will hump the revolution like whatever they are. Hump was bleeped as well, like I said. The dogs that they are. Like I said, hump was bleeped, a lot of bleeping.
Yeah.
Duggan says USA and says he won't use the salty language like the filthy animals. He's a revolution. I'm going to make you my personal. And goes and stopped himself. And the filthy animals trying to say bitches, but he won't. He just screams ho instead. And the revolution music hits. Dean gets on the mic and says, give us the honor and respect and pledge allegiance to the flag of the revolution. Duggan chants USA instead. Perry says, you know where you're at, but can you spell it? Talking about USA, which I thought was funny. Perry says, the filthy animals, how many times have we put you in the hospital before you realize you're outclassed? Then says, how many times does Fred Flintstone need to realize the stack of ribs will tip his car over? Shane says, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, if it's the last thing I do, I'll get you to denounce the country called America. Hacksaw shakes his head no. We get loud USA chants, and Shane screams, shut the hell up. Shane says he can denounce it loud or in Shane's ear. And then Shane says, filthy animals, as far as your little asses are concerned, you're a lowlife like the rest of the pathetic Americans. Shane says, you say this is a great country, but every damn week you bitch and moan about taxes. Shane says, this is a great country. Nah, like he's fucking Borat, way before Borat. We get loud USA chants. Shane says he has a franchise and say they will end the comeback of the filthy animals. And Logan, before I get your opinion on this, I just want to let our listeners know we are 36 minutes into the Thunder show. We've had 2 long ass promos in one match.
Yes, we have.
This promo was like 10 minutes, guys. But Logan, this brings me to my problem. If you're gonna have the filthy animals show up on Nitro, just have them show up the night before and be the special,
Yeah, true.
The Hacksaw's partners.
Instead
you can still have Varsity Club show up on Monday and beat someone up. It's just dumb. And with them doing this match 4 days later, it's even dumber in hindsight. But I'm kind of over the filthy animals and Revolution feud. I'm definitely over Hacksaw and Revolution feud. Everyone just needs to go their separate ways.
Yeah. For the rest of the guys other than Benoit, the thing that happens pretty shortly probably couldn't have come at a better time. But excuse me. But yeah, this one we kind of talked a bit about the opening promo being kind of long, but yeah, this one dragged a good bit. And yeah, I'm kind of over these groups feuding. I feel like Russo is using the filthy animals as voice box to like complain about standards and practices and stuff like that, because they kind of poke fun at standards and practices when they do all the bleeping stuff and all that. So I think he's kind of using them as his personal like megaphone to like shit on people, kind of trying to trap the way that he does TV, or like hold him back or something like that. So, but yeah, this one did drag a good bit. But yeah, I would like to see these guys possibly feud with somebody else other than each other. So, and Duggan can go away as quickly as possible. So, but yeah, I definitely agree with you.
I think you bring up a very good point about him like being there, like the voice for Russo, because they even name drop standards and practices in this
Yeah, that's true.
promo. I didn't add it, but it's just like a side comment that they say. So yeah, like that's a very good point that I hadn't thought of. Like, yeah, good job, hardest working man in podcasting, right there. Gives great takes like that, guys. Come on,
I make a good point every now and then.
yeah. So after that, we get a commercial break. We go backstage and we see Kurt with the Powers of B. Powers of B says he's a nice guy and says Kurt and Jeff will take out creative control tonight. Powers of B said, if you need me, I'll be in the white limo. Kurt says we're still in the buddy system, and Powers of B just says yes and walks away, which I thought was pretty funny. This leads us to match 2, which is Tank Abbott versus La Parka. I guess that's the end of our little Powers of B crew that we like, Logan. I'm going to spend more time talking about it than the match actually happened. So the match starts and Tank Abbott just punches La Parka and takes him down. Then he keeps hammering La Parka with punches. He just slams him to the ground and throws La Parka out of the ring. La Parka grabs his chair and hits Tank with it, and Tank knocks him out and like beats him into the guardrail, like knocks him out in the guardrail. Like I think he legit knocked him out, Logan, because this motherfucker wasn't moving even after he kicked him. So like, the ref ends the match on the knockout, not on when La Parka hit him with a fucking unprotected chair shot, but when Tank Abbott destroyed him. Security comes down and Tank knocks out Doug Dillinger, which I thought was awesome. And that's literally the end of the match. Like Tank Abbott can't do much, but like showing him little small spurts like this, it's actually pretty cool. Like, because him knocking out La Parka seemed pretty legit. Then him not cocking Doug Dillinger was awesome as well.
Yeah, that was probably the highlight of the match. Him knocking the shit out of fucking Doug Dillinger. What would you consider the finish of that match? Was it a knockout? Was it a count out? Was it a DQ? Because I was kind of confused as to what they kind of ended up making the decision. Was it a no contest? I didn't really get that, but what do you think?
I went with it as a knockout. Knockout, because like he was like looked like he had died because he slid half under the guardrail and wasn't moving even after the kick.
Gotcha. Yeah, it definitely seemed like he knocked him out for sure, but I didn't know if that was what they called the finish, or because they were outside. So I mean, it didn't, wasn't a false. It didn't seem to be a false count anywhere match. So, but that's kind of what I went with as well. But yeah, typical Tank match. He just punches the shit out of whoever he's facing, does a couple of slams. But yeah, they go to the outside and he just knocks the shit out of him. So I've enjoyed the idea of him just beating the crap out of people, but these matches that he's having are going to have a little bit more substance to him for him to advance up the card, I would say. But he seems to have a good little gimmick of just beating the crap out of people so far, but we'll see if they add anything to him.
Highly unlikely, Jess. Highly unlikely. So we see Norman. We go backstage and yeah, that's exactly what it is. We see Norman praying backstage, and he's like underneath like a set of stairs. Yeah. But he hears someone walking and he gets scared, but we see it's Goldberg walking, but Norman is hiding underneath the stairs and he can't see who it is. We get a commercial break. We get a promo for artist as we know as Prince Ikea. He's recording the music and the producer says the lyrics don't make sense. Paisley tells him the lyrics are something you can't comprehend, and that's the end of it. And it's just like, I don't know how WCW has 2 music gimmicks going on right now, but I'm not going to lie. They're going to have a third by the end of the night. And it's probably, I forgot how corny and awesome it was, but we'll get to that, Logan. because we got match 3, which is Norman Smiley versus Fit Finley for the WCW Hardcore title. We see highlights of Monday and how Smiley got a swirly and that Knobs pinned him. Norman comes out first with the plunder. I guess he had some local college team. It was just an Auburn. I mean, it was a maroon jersey, so I can't tell you what football team he was wearing.
I think it was like a
Fit runs
Salisbury
down.
High School shirt or something like that. I don't think it was, or if there's like a smaller college there or something. I don't know.
Yeah. So I don't know, but it was pretty nice. But as like he's wheeling out the plunder, and he not able to get in the ring. Fit runs down and then like just starts beating Norman down. He throws him into like the what do you call that, Logan? Like I call it like the plunder storage unit. Like I don't really know what else to call it.
It's just like it's just like a garbage bucket of like it's like a big garbage like container full of plunder.
Yeah. So Fitz just beating him down. He throws him in that, and then he picks up a football helmet and he's beating him with the football helmet and the broomstick, but Norman has pads on. They battle through the crowd. Norman tries to run away, but Fitz chasing him. Norman goes to the concession stand, and Knobs was there waiting for him. They beat him down. Knobs slams the fridge door into Norman. Norman tries to run away, but they're just beating the hell out of him with cookie sheets. And then they fight out of the concession stand. They throw him into like a garage door, and they're about to squish him on the garage door. But Ming shows up and beats down Knobs and Finley. And then Knobs and Finley is able to get back the advantage, but Knobs was holding Ming, and Ming ducked when Finley went to hit him, and he hits Knobs. So Ming takes out Finley and then puts Norman on Finley, and that's it. And after the match, Ming puts Norman in a Tongan death grip. Logan, just a garbage brawl. Like these hardcore matches are all the same. Like they have the same shitty shots with the cookie sheets. It's just real bad. I know that was the thing of the time, so I can't really but they're not as fun as WWF hardcore matches. At least they were fun and zany. These are just like the same shit. And it sucks because Ming got a little bit of a push. He got a heavyweight title match versus Brett, beat Luger and Sting, and he's now back yucking it up in the hardcore division.
Yeah, a little bit, a little bit disconcerting with that. It seemed like he was getting a good push. I mean, I don't think I ever thought he was going to be a world title contender consistently or anything like that, but he seemed to be being presented pretty well for that little bit. But yeah, he seems to be permanently back down here in the hardcore division. I would say this one's better than some of the other hardcore brawls that they've had. It still wasn't great or anything like that, and still wasn't up to like the WWE standards, I would say. But this one had a little bit more of a backstagey kind of brawling all over the arena kind of situation. So I did kind of enjoy that. But yeah, it doesn't even end up really being much of a match. I mean, it does have a pinfall at the end, but it's more of just like the four of them brawling around when it's really just a match between the two of them. So, but yeah, Ming pretty much kills Finley and just throws Smiley on top of him, and then he murders Smiley afterwards. So, I'd say a better hardcore brawl than maybe we've had, but still not very, very good.
Yeah, I'm just like so done with this division, and I know it lasts until Ming leaves in 2001 when he to be in the Royal Rumble when he was hardcore champ. So still going to be here till the end of the show, gang. So I got to learn to love it. And then we see Jeff Jarrett in his locker room, and he has some type of note saying that the powers of B want to see him now. We get a commercial break, and then we see Jeff in the powers of B room, and he's looking around, and obviously no one's there. But then Goldberg runs in, and he grabs Jeff by the neck, and he says, "I want you to deliver a message that tonight the massacre begins." He says, first the outsiders, and then Jeff when he least expects it. And he's going to rip out Bret Hart's heart. Bret Hart's heart. That's a tongue twister, Goldberg.
Peter Piper picked
He's going to rip out. That's how it felt like. He's going to rip out Bret Hart's heart and eat it, and then leave. And then he lets Jeff leave. And this week, then we get match 4, which is Creative Control, who... How do I say this? They had their biker attire on. Looks real homoerotic, right, Logan?
A little bit.
And Creative Control says that it's no more Creative Control. It's Ron and Don Harris. Like, I'm going to fucking know which one's which. And says the powers of B can shove the suits up their asses. Harris says, powers of B, I'm going to tell you right now that we are coming after you and going to keep coming. And then he says something like that, Logan, and it just doesn't add to the whole aesthetic that they're coming after you and going to keep coming. So they said their names, the Harris Bros now versus Henning and Jarrett. Henning comes out, and then the NWO music hits, but Jeff doesn't come out. Henning waves for Jeff to come out, but he doesn't. Henning stalls getting in the ring, and then he finally tries to get in the ring, but one of the Harris Bros knocks him off the apron, and the other one throws him back in the ring, and they just pound on him, and they Irish whip him into the ropes, and Kurt's able to get a kick. The other Harris gets in the ring before he gets an advantage, and they try to take him on, but the Harris twins just beat him down. They throw Kurt out of the ring and into the guardrail. Then they throw him back in and they double team him in the ring. It's funny, Logan, that last episode they had that handicap match with Kevin Nash, and they were tagging in and out despite having no ref. They have a ref tonight and they don't tag at all. They just act like it's a tornado handicap match. So it just doesn't make any fucking sense to me. Yeah, and they do like a sidewalk slam, and that's a 3. It's like a shitty sidewalk slam too. And the Harris boys win. After this, the NWO runs out and they beat down both Harris twins with the bats. And we can see that actually one of the bats breaks because it's a bendy bat, obviously made of foam, and it like bends like in half. And then they spray paint the Harris brothers in silver because they're the silver and black. Anything to say about that match? Just the Harris twins are dumb. I hate everything.
No, just another stupid excuse to put them over for some reason. Because apparently they're worth television time and getting wins over people that probably they shouldn't. So I don't even know if they really win. I think the match just kind of ends. Yeah, they're the Harris boys, by the way. They very much like to put out that they want to be called the Harris boys. So
that's not helping, Logan. That's not helping with the whole aesthetic.
I know. They definitely emphasize that for sure, though. But yeah, not much on that. Just they just really beat the shit out of Hennig, and then the NWO comes out to save him after he gets his ass beat instead of helping him on the front end.
Yeah, it's like, okay, well, you made Kurt look like a jabroni too, which he's pretty washed by this point. So we get a commercial break, then we see highlights what just happened, and we see Ron and Don being loaded into ambulances and taken away. And then Chris Champagne Canyon comes down with Biggs and 2 different women tonight. I thought he was having a match. That is wrong, because the match is actually Maestro with Symphony versus Bam Bam. Chris Champagne Canyon is on announcer duty. He says, bring back Hoovy. I agree with you, Canyon. And we see Evan Courageous being a fucking moron from Monday with Symphony. And then when Bam Bam comes out, Chris Champagne, CCK calls him Bam Bam Deuce Bigelow, fancies himself a gigolo, which I don't know why that made me laugh, but it really did.
Better.
Yeah, he's like, oh, Bam Bam Deuce Bigelow fancies himself a gigolo, and I was just like, this is fucking great.
I do love low-key love Canyon, though. I'm not gonna lie.
Right? He's so entertaining. Like they were like talking about the movie. He's like, yeah, my movie comes out in April, and they say the director, and he's like, who's that guy? So absurd.
What a moron.
Yeah, right. And then we got so the match starts and Bam and Maestro circle each other. Bam Bam punches Maestro. Maestro tries to hit a shoulder block on Bam Bam twice, but just bounces off over him. He goes for a 3rd time, but then Bam Bam just slams him and then gets him up in the corner, but he runs into a boot up. Then Maestro goes for an axe handle, but Bam Bam punches him in the gut and slams him again. Bam Bam headbutts Maestro, and Bam Bam then goes up top to hit the diving headbutt, but Symphony gets in the ring to protect him. Bam Bam jumps off anyway and hits the diving headbutt, so she didn't really stand by her man. He goes to pin Maestro, but the girls with Canyon jump on the ring and distract the ref, because we've learned that WCW refs are the biggest hornballs this side of me and Sean. Biggs goes to hit Bam Bam with a champagne bottle, but Bam Bam stopped him. and he actually hits Biggs with the champagne bottle. This allows Canyon, who had been carrying a case, to get in the ring, and he hits Bam Bam with a belt. And the ref sees Biggs and Bam Bam down, but he still counts the pin for Maestro. So Maestro wins. I don't know why Canyon has a belt, Logan. They specifically said it's a belt. It looks like a silver-plated world title belt for some reason.
Yeah.
We'll have to see if this goes anywhere. I doubt it does. But yeah, this was just a nothing match. Somehow Maestro keeps getting these wins. So maybe we'll see a little Maestro push.
Maybe. Yeah, it definitely seemed like a replica of some sort. It was the big gold, but I think it was like either like a toy version or like maybe like a replica that they sold at the merch table or something like that. But yeah, Canyon was pretty entertaining on commentary. The match wasn't all that bad either, but Bigelow really does beat Maestro's ass for the most part until Biggs gets involved, like you said. I did like Biggs getting crushed with the champagne bottle, so it was good to see somebody else get cracked with that for once. But yeah, Canyon gets involved and gets Maestro the win. So yeah, I think we've enjoyed Maestro for the most part. So to see him actually get a win over somebody that's got a little bit of name value is pretty cool. So yeah, we'll see what they do with him. Probably release him before the next show, just because that's what happens when we like somebody.
Yeah, right? Like, I'm shocked. Like, that's one thing I like doing this podcast, Logan. Hey, we're watching the shit and we're having a good time with it. It's some of it's soul sucking. But like we see like cool stuff like this. We fell in love with Luger with the Liz stuff. And then we see Maestro and we love his little run. We see how awesome like Sid it's just Sid's been, and like a couple other wrestlers just been great. So we go backstage and we got Mean Gene with DDP, and he talks about the rumor mill of Buff and Kimberly Page. Mean Gene says, "Give me the facts," and DDP says the facts are Bagwell ain't doing my wife. Fact, when he was in LA, Bagwell was hitting on his wife. Fact, DDP wasn't supposed to be in Denver. Fact, Bagwell was sitting with Kimberly and catering, and DDP overreacted. Fact, he says Powers B now want to make an angle out of it. Fact, until he gets a match signed with Bagwell, he's not going to wrestle. Mean Gene says he's going to wrestle tonight, and says DDP says my ass I do, and leaves. So a pretty good promo there. I like DDP, but he comes off corny as hell sometimes, and this was like one of them when he was trying to do the facts thing. Logan, am I wrong with that assessment, or am I just being overcritical?
No, he gave me major Tyson Kidd vibes here with the fact thing, because he does that. Tyson Kidd did that in like NXT when he had that little run when they tried to present him as a main eventer on that brand. But yeah, this was kind of obnoxious and kind of annoying. I definitely agree. Some of his promos can get pretty corny, but this didn't make him seem very, very face-ish in this situation where he's supposed to be like the cheated on husband or whatever. So, or the, whatever you want to call this, but yeah, definitely didn't come off cross very face-ish here.
Not at all. Like, who am I supposed to cheer for? The homewrecker or the cuck? Get a commercial break, Logan. That's what it feels like. We get a commercial break, and Logan, when I saw this promo video, I got angry, but then my face lightened up because of how corny and absurd it became. And it's some of the stuff I love about wrestling that doesn't take itself serious. So we see an Evan Courageous and Medusa video of everything that happened. I have it here in the notes. I don't know why it all sucks. Then like what happened on Monday with basically Evan being a pussy and then beating down Chavo after the match. And then we go to the ring, Logan, and we see 3 green circles. And we see Evan in the middle and 2 other guys one on the left and one on the right. I don't know who they are, Logan, but we'll learn soon enough. Evan says he's tired of being played as a fool for the women in the back. He says Evan Courageous is going to make a comeback and stand tall. He introduces Shannon Moore and Shane Helms. Sad fact, guys. I love Hurricane Helms. I loved him as Sugar Shane Helms.
Same.
Vertebreaker. What up? So, like, seeing him. And I will say, him and Shannon Moore look like typical fucking like some like F-team boy band that would have been created around this time with what they were wearing. Just looked amazing.
Yeah, his Shane Helms hair was something to
It was
behold.
majestic.
It was
Evan
feathery,
says that.
I might say.
Yeah, it really was. I almost like I don't have Twitter anymore, Logan, but I almost wanted to like re-download it and just tweet him and be like, "Dude, your hair was amazing here."
What the hell were you thinking?
Yeah, I was just like, but so Evan says they don't call us Backstreet Boys or NSYNC, they call us 3 Count. Evan says they're going to charm the pants off all the ladies and drop them for the skanks that they are. Which, okay, fucking incel Evan Courageous over here. And then they show a video of them like dancing and acting. It's like a boy band video from like the late '90s, which I love Backstreet Boys and NSYNC, so I was like all in on this. Like you could tell Evan's lip syncing, like the announcers even say it. But I will say a heel boy band group of this time is a genius idea, Logan. I'm shocked it wasn't done earlier. It's like instant heat.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, they're immediately booed. And you know, I think kind of pushing Courageous as the leader is a good idea if they're going to be heels, to get them booed pretty quickly, because he is terrible, and he's not good on the mic either. So this was not a great promo by him, but yeah, immediately heel heat for the boy band group here. So definitely some solid stuff, and I was excited once I saw Shannon and Shane in the ring, because I've been kind of interested to get into this and see what this run's kind of all about.
Yeah, I'm interested to see when the Young Dragons come around. I think that's later in 2000, Logan. But
Yeah.
I remember liking those matches a lot between those 6. And then they break into groups and everything. But then we have this good heel group. Not a good heel group, interesting heel group. But then we have Chavo interrupt, and he drop kicks Evan. And then he is able to beat up Shannon Moore and Shane Helms. Way to make them look like dopes immediately. It's just like, it's like Russo doesn't know how to, like, just have him take out Evan, and then having Shane and Shannon beat him down, instead of like doing this. Like, it makes no sense. It takes away what they just had, because I thought that was an interesting debut. Like I said, somehow we have 3 music gimmicks in WCW right now.
Yep. Yeah. Having Chavo be the one to come take him out was definitely a choice, but that does make sense for continuity purposes, but definitely pretty lame.
Yeah. So then we we see another David and Daphne video. They show up at a gas station, and they're talking to a worker, and they meet him, and he says his name is Crowbar, and they all start laughing together. We go to commercial break, and then we're still at the gas station, and we see Vampiro and the Misfits drive up, and they start beating down David at the gas station. They hold on to Daphne. Crowbar runs in with a crowbar. Nope, he runs in with a pipe and beats down Vampiro and the Misfits. Would have been too easy for him to have a fucking crowbar, Logan. Too easy. But no, it's just a pipe, and they beat down Vampiro and the Misfits, make them look like goobers, and yeah, it's I didn't know that's how we were introduced to Crowbar, but I like it. I think Crowbar becomes interesting. He definitely carries the tag team of David Flair and Crowbar, but I like him, and especially when they do like him having a crush on Daphne. Spoiler alert, later on in 2000. But yeah, what did you think of all those? Somehow the Vampiro and Misfits feud with David Flair continues. I know it just started, but I just want it to be over.
Yeah, he could somehow competently do one wrestling move ever, and he would be better than David Flair. So he would carry that team even if he was the second worst wrestler in the world, because he would never be the worst. He would never be worse than old David Flair, because David Flair is terrible. But good to see he got a tag team partner. So maybe we don't have to see him in any singles matches. So but yeah, the Misfits look real bad, considering there were like 5 of them and only 3 of them, and Daphne wasn't even doing anything. So it was really like a 2-on-5 situation, and the 2 somehow won. So I mean, I know he had a pipe, but you know, it's still a pretty
Yeah.
substantial numbers advantage.
So for these next matches, guys, I just want y'all to know there's like 25 minutes left in the show. So if feels like they speed run through all this, it's because they do. So we go to match 6, which is the Filthy Animals and Hacksaw vs. Revolution. Filthy Animals come out first, and we're told it's Kidman and Conan are representing the Filthy Animals. When they're coming down the aisle, Tony says the powers that be have informed him that DDP has been replaced with Kevin Nash tonight. So it'll be Kevin Nash versus the Wall. And then Hacksaw comes down, the Revolution comes out, and it'll be Dean, Perry, and Asia. Dean and Conan start. Conan punches Dean in the corner, and then Conan hits a bulldog. Then he hits a rolling thunder clothesline. Perry runs in, and Conan hits the X Factor on him. Billy tags in and hits a leg drop, and then a drop kick to Dean. We get a tag to Perry, and all three baby faces punch him. Billy hits sliced bread number 2, and then hits a cross body block and gets 2 as well. Asia interferes, and Perry gets a sick T-bone suplex that Billy landed right on his head, and Shane actually says, "Oh my God, he's dead." It seemed like he was concerned at first, then it turned into like, "I hope he's dead," but he killed him with that T-bone suplex. It was nice. We get a tag to Dean, and they hit double elbows. Dean then pins Billy, but this gets 2. Dean then hits a snap suplex, and he gets 1 because Conan interferes. We get a tag to Perry, and Perry hits a knee drop with Dean holding Billy. Perry slams Billy, and he goes up top and hits a nice elbow drop. Conan breaks up the count. Perry then tries a power bomb, but Kidman reverses it and hits a facebuster. We get a hot tag to Hacksaw, and he punches the Revolution because that's what we need in December 1999's hot tags to Hacksaw. And he just punches through all the Revolution. Hacksaw sends Saturn on the rope and then slams him. He went for a 3-point stance, but Dean and Asia both grab him. And this allows Perry to hit him and put him against the ropes. And then Shane gets off a commentary and screams over the mic and says it, denounce the U.S., and Hacksaw says no. This makes Hacksaw USA up instead of hulking up, and he chases Shane outside the ring. It all breaks down with everyone fighting inside the ring. Somehow Ray is on crutches. He gets in the ring for some reason, and the Revolution corners him, but he hits them both with crutches. And then the Filthy Animals get a double sunset flip for the 3. None of the Filthy Animals was the legal men. And after the match, the Revolution beat down the Filthy Animal with crutches. Like I said, if it felt like I was speedrun talking this, because that's how they speed ran the match. Like, it was like boom, 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 boom. And it was like a 3.5-minute match. And they got a lot of shit in. Billy Kidman nearly died for our sins. As much as I enjoyed this fun match, but then, we talked about we don't want this anymore. Filthy Animals win, and then they're beaten down by the Revolution again. So it's like they can't, get any of their shine. Because then they got to get heel beat right back. But it's like, why even have them win? Just have them use the crutch to hit them. You know, it's just bad.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought it ended up being a pretty fun little brawl towards the end, but like you said, it's super quick and super fast, and didn't get a ton of time. And like you said, Billy Kidman, like you said, dies for our sins on that suplex. You were definitely kind of worried for him there for a second, but yeah, Duggan's inclusion in this is pretty pointless, and I kind of hate it. Obviously Ray's hurt, and I don't know if Guerrero's hurt or just kind of playing out the rest of his contract or what's going on, but he's not involved either. But I would have rather seen him in the match. But obviously, like we've talked about in the past, I think we've seen the last of him wrestling. But he definitely is still here. So it would be nice to see him in the ring instead of just chilling there. So, but yeah, a solid little brawl, but nothing special just because it didn't get a ton of time.
Yeah, I remember you looked at Cage Match and it was like he doesn't wrestle anymore, and I was shocked when we saw him on Monday. So it's
I was kind of surprised. Yeah, when we even saw him again.
I think Logan, when it's the last time before Sold Out, I'm going to play Closing Time. Grooney, remind me when I'm editing a podcast before this. I know you listen, buddy. So then we see the NWO walking with bats in the backstage. It's Nash versus Wall is next. We get a commercial break. NWO music hits, and just Hall and Nash come out. Hall gets on commentary. Wall has his own music, and match 7 is Kevin Nash versus the Wall. Hall says his mom named him the Wall, and which I thought was pretty funny. We see highlights from Berlin and Wall on Monday. Match starts with a collar and elbow tie up. Nash gets a knee to the gut and then pounds on Wall in the corner. Gets elbows and knees to the gut and chokes Wall with his boot. Nash is working over the Wall. Wall's back, and then Wall ducks a punch and he gets some punches in as well. Hall says the new NWO has been basically planned since they were off in the WWF, which I thought was pretty nice because it's like, yeah, we became friends when we were up north, and that's what we did. Wall then clotheslines Nash into the corner, then hits a headbutt. Wall's choking Nash in the corner. Wall Irish whipped Nash into the corner, then he ate a boot, and Wall ducked a clothesline and hit one of his own, and then hits a big boot. Then Hall gets in the ring and hits Wall with the bat for the DQ, which we'll just talk about this after the match. Hall calls out Brett and Jeff, and they come down and beat Wall with the baseball bat, and they spray paint NWO on the wall. So this was a quick match, like I said, hyperdrive, guys. But at first, I thought it was going to be a straight Nash squash, but they had the Wall hold his own against him, which shows that they might have plans for the Wall. So he had to change his name, of course, but he held his own and had to get DQ'd. Nash couldn't beat him, who's a multi-time WCW world champ at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, he's won all kind of belts throughout the company and the world and stuff like that. So, yeah, it definitely seems like they have some plans for the Wall. He's been getting, I don't say he's been getting a ton of wins, but he's definitely been looking good against some top level talent. And yeah, he has Nash reeling in this one until Hall gets involved. So, yeah, and then they just beat his ass like they do, like the pack of hyenas that they are. But yeah, they pretty much beat his ass. But it seems that they have something for him, and he held his own in this one. And I think he held his own pretty well against Sid. I mean, it's not anything super duper impressive, more than some power slams and some punches and kicks and stuff like that. But he's a good hoss to have, and I think if maybe things didn't go the way that they did, he might have had a future in the Russo plans and stuff like that.
Yeah, I feel he could have done something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe been part of this little mini group me and you created. But sadly, we'll never have to see it come to fruition. And then we have a commercial break, and then we see Wall being taken to an ambulance with a gurney, but he fights them off, and then he flips over the gurney and starts throwing shit around, and he's yelling. And then Logan, that's when it gets weird, really weird. We see Nash and Hall. Nash is going to shower, and Hall's going in the trainer's room so he can, get his knee wrapped. And then Hall runs into Goldberg in the training room, and we just see Goldberg grab him. And then we cut to Nash singing in the shower, and then he's asking. He heard someone come in. He thinks it's Hall, and he's asking for a conditioner. And then we see Goldberg just him Nash face Goldberg and yell. And then we see Hall down, put through a table. And then instead of showing Nash, because Nash was in the shower, supposed to be butt ass naked, you see his back. And then all we see in the shower is just Nash's hand laying down in the shower. Instead of it was bad. That was real bad, Logan.
Yeah, this is like some public access wrestling shit on this one.
Yeah, they don't even show. Yeah, it was bad. Why not just have him they walk into a room and you hear noises instead of the weird shower scene, which it felt like it was the worst Psycho scene ever. But yeah, it was. But Nash was funny because he was singing in the shower while he was doing it. They let him sing in the shower for 20 seconds. It was this motherfucker's just loving it. But I just don't understand this. But 2 down, 2 to go, Logan.
Yeah, some great stuff from Hall and Nash just being sarcastic assholes, and like you said, Nash just singing in the shower, which was great. You'll always get me with something where Nash is just being a jackass like that. But yeah, the camera work and the production that went along with the table spot and the shower scene were definitely something to not behold, I would say. But yeah, definitely not the best in production and all that on this one. But I would say Hall and Nash were pretty funny in this one for sure, especially Nash with the singing in the shower. So, um, but yeah, Goldberg seemingly picking him off piece by piece. So we'll see if he gets to the head of the snake by the end of the night.
We'll see. Because this leads us to match 8, which is our main event, guys. It's Chris Benoit versus Bret Hart for the WCW title. Chris is out first. We have 9 minutes left. Then WO music hits and Bret Hart comes out. We got 8 minutes left. Match starts with 7 minutes left. So we're getting better, Logan. Not that much better, but we're getting a little bit better. Get a collar and elbow tie up. Yeah, just a little bit. Nothing beats the 4-minute 4-way ladder match, which two of the members had to run out because we had 4 minutes left. So we get a collar and elbow tie up. Chris chops the shit out of Bret during this match. I'm gonna say this every time he chops the ever-loving shit out of him. He chops shit out of Bret in the corner and kicks him down. He's just beating the hell out of Bret right now. Bret gets out of the ring and Chris follows him and chops him again. And it sounded like a wood smacking how bad he's hitting him. Bret's able to get in control and they battle around the ring. Bret throws Chris in the ring and gets an atomic drop on him. Bret then Irish whipped Chris Benoit and dropped him with a backbreaker and then a leg drop. Bret then hits an elbow drop on Chris and then a DDT, and this gets 2. Bret gets another backbreaker and then bites his head in the corner because Chris has a scab from his ladder matches that he had 2 nights in a row, trying to rip it open. Chris starts fighting back and is chopping him back, and he actually chops Bret so hard that Bret takes a bump, which I don't know if like Bret was doing that or he just did it that hard because it made a hell of a sound. It was like a tree falling in the woods with that one. Chris then gets an elbow and hits a snap suplex. This gets 2. Chris went for a German suplex, but Bret got a kick in the nuts. Bret rubs Chris's head across the ropes. Bret punches Chris and then headbutts his nuts again. Bret chokes Chris in the corner and he punches him in the corner. Chris reverses an Irish whip and Bret takes his patented chest first bump into the turnbuckle. Bret then tried for a Russian leg sweep, but Chris reverses it and got a crossface, which was nice. And then Jarrett ran in and hit Chris with the guitar. So Logan, I'm going to stop here before we talk. This makes me think if all this sticks around, we might see Chris beat Bret for the world title down the line. Because they didn't do a conclusive finish here. We almost had, like, Benoit would have won. So maybe they would have built up for like Spring Stampede or Super Brawl or something. Because you figured sold out it's going to be Bret and Goldberg again. And then we split off from there potentially. But I don't know. It made me feel like Chris Benoit might have beat him later in the year. Or, next Thunder.
Yeah, even based on Mayhem, I kind of felt like Bret got him that time, but Benoit was eventually going to get him somewhere down the line. Maybe not in the immediate future, but it seemed like even then to me that like they were headed back towards that match at some point. Maybe like you said, in the middle of the spring or early summer or something like that, they might come back to it and have Benoit take the cake. But yeah, I definitely felt like you said that was going to happen at some point. But yeah, a solid match for what it was. I'm fairly positive at this point both of them are incapable of having anything less than a solid match together. So they're a pretty good pairing with each other. And I don't think that they could have a bad match if they tried. But yeah, again, it's cut off with the interference, of course, but that's kind of typical of these NWO matches. So
yeah, they have this match, Logan, and Bret's concussed as fuck. So think about that.
Yeah, true.
So it's like, goddamn. All right, so let's get in this post match as Jarrett runs in and hits Chris with the guitar. That's our one for the night. Goldberg comes down and takes out Jeff, who was spray painting Chris. Bret runs away, and Goldberg chases after him. And I actually have in my notes, this is one of the really things that kills WCW. We see Bret take off, and Goldberg sees the powers that be limo, and he starts beating it with his arm. As you know, he was supposed to have a pipe, but didn't want to look like a pussy swinging a pipe, so he had it in his like on his arm, and that fell off. So he started beating it with his bare hands, and they cut to black and white when he runs outside because there's so much blood, and we see blood. You can see the blood splatter starting to get on the car, and they immediately cuts away once like they realize how bad. And this takes out Goldberg for 6 months, guys. He comes back in June, which we'll talk about at a later, I don't know, episode 87 or something. But it's real heartbreaking because like we're gonna find out how bad Brett is shortly. Goldberg, your top babyface, just tore his arm up, and the WCW had already at this time taken a lot of bullets, or like if you want to do the Titanic, they had taken a lot of water on. But I think this is the one that pushes them over the edge because you could have had a chance to turn everything around. But this is the like I don't even think the April reboot or whatever happens at July at Bash at the Beaks, but like I think this is the final death nail. I may change my mind multiple times, but if it's not the final death nail, it's one of the death nails with this because they had a hot angle coming off of this, and it's gone now. It's gone. Like it's gone. By the time Goldberg returns, we'll see what it is. But Brett's gone. Benoit's gone. And it's just sad. It's heartbreaking, Logan. Like I just have they're so snake bit. But that brings us to an end of Thunder. What did you think of that last little segment?
Yeah, I mean everybody that was involved in the main event, last like 15, 20 minutes of the show are pretty much gone outside of Nash. Hall is hurt. Hall eventually
is fired.
Eventually gets fired. He actually eventually has a world title match at some point. We'll get there when we get there. But after that, he's done. So Nash is really the only one that stays around. That's around for the next, 6 or 7 months. Because like you said, Goldberg eventually comes back, but he's done after this point. So, but yeah, you had a main event in Hart versus Goldberg, coming into this night. But as you kind of talked about, by the time Sold Out actually rolls around, and even after this week, you don't have either of them. So. I mean, I don't know how quickly Brett kind of figures out what's going on with him, but I know it's not too far in the future.
Yeah, and it sucks.
All of it sucks, yeah, for sure.
It's just heartbreaking. So let's get into our. I'm sorry we're leaving on a downer note, guys, but that's just what this Thunder is, sadly.
Kind of what this spot is.
Well, yeah, but we usually find like some glimmer, but maybe we'll find it on Thunder. Most absurd. I got Goldberg fucking himself up, Logan.
Yeah, the whole slicing his arm up on the window. Just stupid in every every way you could say it. Just arrogance on his part, but even put him in that situation. Not a good
so
idea.
dumb. I got what was good, the NWO running rampant and Goldberg hunting them down. I thought that was very nice as well.
Yeah, not too much to complain about on this one. So there wasn't too much just bad on this. I'd say some kind of lower card superstars getting a little bit of a push. It seems like, with the Wall and Maestro getting a good win and seemingly kind of rising up the card a little bit, but. Yeah, pretty good Thunder overall.
Yep, and what was bad? I got Goldberg slicing up his arm. It's just winning most absurd and bad. Anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, and just like you said, the snake bitten nature of the promotion at this point. All the stuff that's going to happen in the near future with coming out of this night.
Yeah, so we had 8 matches tonight, guys. 1 clean finish, 7 non-clean or non-finishes, 0 pole matches tonight. We're still at 4 pole matches overall. Only 1 gimmick match tonight. That brings us up to 70. 1 guitar shot tonight. We're at 22 for that. 31 different things happened tonight, and we're at 26 title changes. So none of that happened. Thank you all for listening. Check us back in 2 weeks where Logan, we're finally here. It's the last Nitro
New Year's
in
Evil.
1999, which means it's the last 3-hour Nitro, Logan.
Whoop whoop.
I won't have to watch this in 3 sittings. It's awesome. Like,
I've never looked forward to something so much in my life. I'm not gonna lie.
I know. Like, so no, New Year's Evil is their highlight show, Logan. Is
that okay? I got you.
Yeah, I think this is. We'll see, but I may be wrong. But yes, so our last 3-hour Nitro is coming up, guys. It will be the 23rd episode. Thank you so much for listening, Logan. Thank you for always being here. You know, helping me out with this, being my sanity check. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
For life. For life. For life.